Welcome to the Literature Lounge, where writers and authors share their stories behind their stories. Hi, in today's episode, we have the honor of hosting Major Ashok Kumar Singh, a man whose adventurous spirit have led him to circumnavigate the globe. As we get talking to him, we will hear from him all about his life journey. Major A.K. Singh is the first amputee to sail around the world in a yacht and a recipient of the prestigious Kirti Chakra, in a testament to the power of determination and resilience. And I'm extremely honored to have you here with me today. From earning the top spot in the NDA, the National Defense Academy, and receiving the President's Gold Medal, to being bestowed with the Sword of Honor, Major A.K. Singh's unwavering will and tenacity has enabled him to overcome all the hurdles and emerge stronger than ever. His real life adventures, filled with danger and excitement, are no less thrilling than those found in fiction. Today, we are going to delve together into the extraordinary life of this absolutely remarkable man. Welcome, Major A.K. Singh, in today's podcast. And it's such an honor for me to have you here today with me. So, the first thing I want to know a little bit is about your early life, education. You were born into an army family, attended the prestigious Royal Indian Military College and National Defense Academy. Can you share some of the memorable experiences from your early years that shaped your future, and obviously this entire will that you have as a human being? Where did you get that from?
Thank you, Mohua. It's a pleasure being here, and it's quite an honor. I'm proud of my book, so this has to do with my book, and I'm very happy that we are going to talk about that too. From my early days, actually, I went to, as you mentioned, I went to the Prince of Wales Royal Indian Military College, now called the Rashtriya Indian Military College, which is a premier defense, school for feeding the armed forces in Dehradun. It has completed its centenary a couple of years ago. And that was a school on which the Sainik schools in the country were modeled after, it was decided that the youth need to be, during school days, they need to go into a military way of motivational education. From my young days, from my RIMC days, which are my school days, what can I remember? I can remember that we were 11 and a half years old, very young. When I look back, things that appeared monumentally important then appear much smaller now. At that age, what happens is that kids 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, which is what we were before we graduate to go into the National Defense Academy from there, we grow asymmetrically. Somebody who's 13, 14 may be taller than somebody else who's 13, 14, and others grow up a little later, some grow up a little earlier. So you have this peer thing going, somebody is a well-built and taller and bigger guy. Somebody is a little puny and small and things like that. So you try to fit in, because boys that age, they hero worship a lot, look up to a guy who's a good boxer, a good runner, even good in academics, things like that. And then your family habits and values come in. You're trying to gravitate towards some habits and friends that you see in some of the boys, and you have to check yourself if they're good habits or bad habits. So life goes on. It's a growing up process. Small things that I mentioned. For example, if you lose the key to your locker, the Godrej lock, the old Godrej lock, it became a very big, matter of stress for you at that age. And so you went about with your geometry box, had a divider in it. So we learned how to open a lock with a divider, stuff like that. There were stories of that go around in any old boarding school, particularly in Dehradun and the hills, of some old ghosts visiting the school and some challenges thrown by the boys. And so those were formative years. One remembers them very fondly. And the bonds built up at that age, they pay off throughout life. And particularly in something like the armed forces, such bonds can become absolutely priceless, particularly in times of, action. You've got your friends around you and stuff like that. Mohua.
I completely agree with you. My childhood friends are my tribe. are the people that I completely relate to, and I completely, it just took me back into my own childhood when we've used the geometry box, to open up things and take out stuff. So yeah, we are all probably from the same era. So yours has been a life of courage, from representing India in the Youth Olympics to sailing from Bombay to Iran. I mean, I need to repeat this: from sailing from Bombay to Iran, it's been filled with adventure. So what drives you to seek all these thrilling, adventures and the experiences? Tell us about that.
Uh, Mohua, I don't want to, sound negative about a few things. I feel life has been extremely precious and rewarding, and an extremely happy journey, extremely rewarding journey. I was born a 7 month underdeveloped baby. In fact, to some extent deformed, you may say. I had knock knees and flat feet, very severe ones. My father had the foresight. He was an army officer. He had the foresight and the will to see that even that age, in 1960s, early 1960s, he got orthopedic shoes for me to cure my flat feet and knock knees, and had me take on horse riding that is supposed to cure knock knees. And by the time I went through school, RIMC, I was all fit, and had, as I said earlier, I seem to have gained height more towards my 14th, 15th year. And I passed out of RIMC as good as anybody else. And I think what you said about adventure and gravitating towards adventure, I think it has to do with a yearning for struggle to be as good as the next man. And slowly, a struggle gets rewarded. So a struggle and a reward builds on each other. And slowly you start enjoying the uncertainty of things, the challenges of things, the crossing of thresholds, the rewards that you get out of it, the thrill that you get out of it. And it kept building on itself. And I kept enjoying it. And, when we passed out of the National Defense Academy is another great story of growing up from 15, 16-year-olds to about 19-year-olds or so. It's a pretty, one remembers the National Defense Academy life with so much of fondness. Again, like the RIMC, a bond built during forged during our NDA days is a bond for life. We say once an ex-NDA, always an ex-NDA. And the other one that goes with ex-NDAs is an ex-NDA never gives up. What happened is that adventure kind of grows on you. And it kept, as I said, I kept getting rewarded for my forays into. 1971 was the last that the Indian Army had seen action when we passed out of the NDA in 1972. And, there was a reasonably long time that the Indian Army was not involved in border actions with our good northerly and westerly neighbors, or even in internal, like we are involved in internal security and terrorism and all now. So during those times, a guy trained like I was at the RIMC and the NDA, we had to find action somewhere. It had grown into us. So we went about trying to seek adventure wherever we could. And there was a senior of mine, Major Paramjit Singh Pami. I credit my ocean-going later accomplishments to him, because he was the one who forged this plan to sail a very small boat, which many of my friends who are in Bombay or in the Navy will will know the word called Seabird class. It's a small 18-footer boat. And we didn't have anything in the country that time. So where do you adventure with? You adventure with what you have. If you've got bows and arrows, you adventure with bows and arrows. If you've got sticks, you adventure with sticks. Small kids adventure with gulli danda or whatever they have, or throwing a stone at a mango or at an imli tree or something. So he planned a small voyage from Bombay to Iran and back, Bandar Abbas port in the Persian Gulf. And he co-opted me as one of the members. 3 of us took the boat out from Mumbai via Karachi along the Makran coast to Bandar Abbas. And I was one of the crew members who brought the boat back from Bandar Abbas, stopping at Karachi, and also, we stopped at Dwarka too. Now, as I said, the action, we were trained for being army guys, motivated for being army guys. and good, strong army guys. Our army is amongst the best in the world, and I'd like to say it is the best in the world. And what do you do when there's no action going on? So the nature, mountains, jungles, the oceans, they have a they have a lure. You talk to any adventurer, you talk to a mountaineer, you talk to a guy going trekking in the jungle or into the caves, or a seafarer. You find that this guy takes off on a different level, different plane altogether when he's talking about the mountains or the jungles or the oceans and the seas. So nature has a lure, and if you get lured, you're trapped. And this voyage set me thinking as to why we can't do something bigger. So that's how this plan to sail around the world germinated in my mind. It was a very elementary and kiddish, boyish plan. This started in 1978, 79. And I wouldn't bring out the plan to anybody because, what happens is, if nowadays any student in any school goes around telling people that I want to go to Mars or the moon, if he tries to say it out, people are going to laugh at him, people are going to chide him, people are going to, although much later he well might. So I had to keep it under wraps. The years were 78, 79, 80. There was no technology available. There was no information available. Just by reading some books, which some of the British yachtsmen from the Corps of Engineers had left in our library, I started daydreaming, dreaming about why can't I plan to sail around the world. And then, of course, some seniors who had more maturity in the army, who had been the people who had formed the Yachting Association of India and things like that before me, with even more rudimentary, equipment and even less money than we had. But they had forged a base called the Yachting Association of India. They had sailed the small Seabird to nearer ports and stuff. So they said that, yes, you have a plan. And they caught my, my little fingers and took up my project. And, we joined hands with the army taking up the project. It went up to the army headquarters, the defense ministry, and the various ministries of the government of India. It took 6-7 years just to kind of, there were a lot of peculiar questions. There was no information level that time at all. So we had peculiar questions like, why do you want to go to sea? It's all good fun and frolic because people brought back brochures of seaside villas and all that. So we had to tell them because there was nobody in the country who would sail any ocean at all. I went trying to ask people, what does ocean sailing mean? And they say, we know nothing about it. I asked naval officers, I asked some yachting people who were aspiring for national championships and things. So that's how it all, I think I'm over answering because you asked about why the adventure spirit in me. Well, I think there is some of it in all of us. And I'll stick to what I said earlier. Crossing the threshold and getting a small reward is what goads you on to greater, and hopefully greater heights. Mohua.
Absolutely, completely agree with you, and it's absolutely inspirational. I'm going to delve a little bit on a very sensitive part that I would assume is probably a topic that you may not have answered a lot of people, but we've heard about the hang glider incident, right? And that led to a leg amputation, which isn't easy at all. It's unimaginable. Um, and as an amputee, obviously, your perspective to life, I mean, considering the kind of adventure that you were with the adrenaline inside you, I know, and that will, how did it change your perspective to life and, and in sailing in general and your life in general? I mean, it must have been a huge shock for the family around you, for everyone around you. And it would be an honor to know from you. How did it, pan in your life?
Mohua, actually, I think when I look back, um firstly, losing a leg in a hang gliding after a consequent to a hang glider crash, it was, I got gas gangrene while I was in the command hospital at Pune, which I probably should not have got. And I got amputated above my knee. I think the biggest shock was to my father, who had a lot of aspirations from me. As you said, I was fortunate. My hard work was rewarded earlier. I was the Sword of Honor and the gold medalist from Indian IMA and best in academics and sports. So any father would have thought that, my son is going places. For me personally, I think it was just another challenge and another adventure. So the adventure carried on. I remember seeing a very small girl. She was just about 8, 9 years of age, and I said, "Can I ever walk again?" And my wife and me were sitting in front of the limb center at Pune, artificial limb center, and she went flitting about, tata tata tata. She was energetic and young. And then somebody else told me she was wearing a ghagra or something. I couldn't see her legs because somebody told me that she had an amputation exactly like mine. I said, "Wow, if she can flit about like this and pass by," I said, "Good." So maybe I can do that one of these days. So that was one thing that I knew I could do. The guy who fitted the limb onto me told me to take a walking stick. I said, "Why?" He said, "You might fall." I had a big laugh. I said I shouldn't have been foolish enough to lose a leg if I was afraid of falling. And so I've never taken a walking stick in my life. And I think these small little challenges that I took on added up to a far bigger picture of small bricks that added to an achievement level. I could achieve a lot more than what people feel amputees can do. I was after the amputation. There was a sailing regatta in National Defence Academy Lake at Karachi, and one of my friends who later became a general, MS Pillai, they said that, "AK, you got to sail the regatta." It was a quadrangular championship, NDA, College of Military Engineering, Mumbai team, and something like that. So I said, "Yes, I'll sail," and I was just recently amputated. I didn't know if I'd be able to sail and what I'll be able to sail. The small boats that were very, very, kind of maneuverable, capsizable, and rightable, and all that, very, highly active boats were the Enterprise class those days. So I said, I must sail a bigger boat. I don't think I'll be able to handle an Enterprise. So there was a Lightning class, which has got wooden planks. You can sit on them. And so Pillai said, "Okay, what boat are you going to sail?" On my way to the Academy Lake. So I just kind of said, Soma, Pillai, I think I'll sail the Lightning class, which was the most stable boat. I remember Soma saying, "Okay, why not the Enterprise? Why don't you try?" I kept shut, but the question had been seeded, and my mind was trying to find an answer. Why not the Enterprise class? So I went on into the Enterprise, and we won the championship. And the same year, as a Nawabni amputee, I sailed the national championships for the Enterprise class, and I have a certificate that says that in all India Enterprise Championships, I got the 7th position in an All India Championship. And again, as I said earlier, Mohua, your endeavors, they bring you results, and the results, if you have it, that kind of a mindset, bring you fresh endeavors, and it's never ending, and it's ever, 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 ever fulfilling to no end, Mohua.
I am, as a constant person who does podcasts, I am really short of words right now because you're an inspiration, Major A.K. Singh. And I mean, I can't even imagine that it must have been such a journey because one needs to prepare, for sailing. And it's a huge amount of preparation that goes in. And I'm sure there are days that one feels that, one wants to give up. And then you again have to pull yourself together and say that there is a much more larger picture ahead. So let's just talk a little bit now about your book, Beyond Horizons. What motivated you to write a book? We are going to get down to that. And translating this journey to a book is a completely different ballgame. It isn't easy, right?
Yeah.
So what made you write the book?
Yeah. If I may, I'll come to two small challenges before that, which come to mind, and I think they were a little important. सबसे पहले तो, you see, I had written this project to sail around the world, and here I was, and I worked 4 or 5 years on this, and here I was amputated. Would I be able to sail around the world? Could I sail around the world? The big question that everybody was asking, because I had put up the project, my generals were asking the same thing: AK, can you sail around the world? I said, I'll never know unless I try, because I've given 6 years of my career life to this. So they said, you have to select the boat anyway, because boats are not, a boat to challenge the oceans, to go into the mighty storms, is not just any boat. It has to be very, very specific, technically, very, very different boat. They say at sea, good boats outlive good men. They also have an adage that says, if the boat lives, you live. So I said yes. I went to England and I selected this boat from after seeing about 400 yachts in England. We were helped and guided by the Corps of Engineers of the Royal Army on the goodwill basis by a request from the Corps of Engineers of the Indian Army. And they guided me, and we selected, along with their help, I selected a 14-year-old third-hand boat that we renamed Trishna of India. It used to be called Guinevere of Sussex before we picked it up. The big question was, again, unanswered. Could I sail? Because the storms in the oceans are far different than coasting along the Gwadar coast or the Mathran coast and going to the Persian Gulf, and the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal are ocean-wise, they're just large, big lakes or a little bigger. They are nowhere near oceans. So we had an instructor called Ron Gravels, and he broke us through the initial paces. And after some tribulations in a storm, I realized that yes, I could sail a big boat, but it was a euphoric realization, because in a storm you need to handle the boat. So these small little things came up, but the storms that we got at sea were horrendous, and we are not prepared for them. We thought sailing is a lark. And then we sailed the boat from England to Bombay, which is 1/5 of the way or so around the world, or 1/4 of the way around the world. So that was in addition to what we later sailed all the way around. And we sailed through horrendous storms in the Bay of Biscay, in the Mediterranean, and in the Red Sea. And when I came back to India, I knew that I could sail around the world, but the realization that it is so hard going through storms was there. And the big question was, knowing that, did I still want to sail around the world? So these things also came up. Maybe I could come to them a little later. You asked about writing the book. It is so far different from sailing. Yes, Mohua. I never pictured myself as an author. But yes, I do picture myself as a person who enjoys experiences and experiencing things, stepping out. As I already said, stepping out is the cornerstone of, endeavor. You have to step out. And so anything new has always excited me. The experiences of sailing a small yacht around the world are so enriching, so um, you know ennobling, so life filling. I remember I told somebody that I've already lived the life, and everything I'm living after this is an additional bonus, because I've already been rewarded for one life that I have by sailing around the world. It had to come out, and I wanted to share it with everybody. Like any unique experience, people will like to share it with people. Um, I think the hidden thought is that maybe if I communicate it, then maybe it'll motivate somebody else also and bring about more awareness that's there. In addition, Mohua, this was 87 when we finished sailing around the world. The awareness levels was so low in the country. There was no internet, no computers, nothing. There was no mobile phone, nothing at all. We sailed around using the stars and the, sun and moon, using sextant and navigation the way the old mariners did. That the awareness level was so low that people would ask, peculiar questions. Somebody asking us, "How far were you from the coast?" So, somebody asking us, "Did you have a ship with you when you sailed around the world?" Somebody even worse asking me, "Did you have a helicopter with you?" I said, "A helicopter with us around the world would be a far bigger adventure than a yacht, because a helicopter can't land in the sea, can't refuel, can't do anything." So I got motivated to say, let me bring all this out. That was one of the main motivations of writing a book. Apart from the fact, let me put it all down before it goes away from me. As they say, if you are a shikari, your tiger gains few feet length every few years that you talk about it. The first year your tiger could be 15 feet, 18 feet. 4, 5 years later, the tiger grows to another couple of feet. So if you don't put them down honestly, your thoughts waver, You don't, and honestly, if you ever want to relive them honestly, because deep down they're very rich thoughts. So all that went into me trying to write a book. It wasn't a very good effort at first. till the time that I was put on the right track by some of my friends who do write. I learned a lot while writing the book, Mohua. And one of the basic things I learned is that you have to be born honest and dig deep in if you want to write anything. To write about adventure in nature is something that's been thrashed about a hell of a lot by hundreds and thousands of people. So it might appear difficult to write something beautiful out of it. But if you dig deep in and if you're honest about it, it comes out pretty well. And I'm proud of it. So that's what started the book, Mohua.
We're all very proud of it. We're all very, very proud of it. And, there must have been a few chapters that must have been very difficult for you to write, right? When you put yourself together there. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
The book goes right from, it encompasses a wide range of life's learning, life's experimenting, life's stepping out, life's achieving. And most of all, again, I'll say life's learning and experiencing. The different chapters have different objects or subjects of writing. The book, the cover, which was designed by my younger daughter, actually, essentially, connotes that it is about a physically handicapped man sailing around the world. But to be quite honest, it later evolved into something much more encompassing. It covered, it was, I realized it was payback time for me to my academy, which gave me so much, to my character building men in our lives when we were in formative years of our lives, like Ronnie Pereira, who's so iconic that I can't think of another equivalent of him even now that I'm so many decades down the line, of course, and things like that. To my comrades and friends, to let us say my senior called Neil Kantan Jayachandran Nair, Ashok Chakra, Kirti Chakra, posthumous Ashok Chakra, as you are aware, is the highest gallantry award in the country, equal to Paramveer Chakra in peacetime actions. And Kirti Chakra is the next. And so he's Ashok Chakra, Kirti Chakra, posthumous. And I found that if I find his story motivating, I must pass it on. Also, my course mate is there, Anurag Norial, whom we lost. Now, writing the book and the chapters, they encompass a lot of different areas. Some of them are even slightly philosophically inclined because you cross the oceans and you know, every day is not a stormy day, although there are some horrendous storms that will always be there. I mean, a sail around the world will encompass everything that you can think about that an ocean can give you in 15 and a half months of sailing around the world. There are days when of expectation. There are days when you've crossed an ocean and you're looking askance, that some cloud will finally turn out into a shape of a mountain and you'll be able to say, yes, I've crossed the Atlantic and I've sighted land. There are a lot of emotional feelings. There are a lot of things. I had to be honest to my crew, men whom I love a lot. There obviously were some, human interactions on board too. They have to be. To portray them in a manner in which, as I always say, if you can't write something of beauty and of value, why write it all? And I am happy that I brought it out in a way. I still feel so many years down the line that I think I managed to portray a lot of things in a beautiful and in a manner in which they're contributory and useful. One of the challenges was that how do you write something like this in a manner in which the readers feel enthused to go from page 81 to page 82 and, they have curiosity level built up as to what's going to happen next. And I realized that unless I have a storyline, I'm an army guy, we used to writing papers and military papers and, kind of stuff like that, which are rather, dry subjects. So I said the only way it can be read by the common, by the common reader is that if it has a storyline. And secondly, I also dug deep into our experiences in the army, which are very interesting to everybody who listens to them, except the army guy who takes them for granted and doesn't like to dwell on them because he thinks that showing emotions is a rather unchivalrous, may be construed as being rather unchivalrous. So I thought of building a storyline into it. so that the reader goes from one chapter to the other with a bit of curiosity as to what happened next. There has to be a storyline. The other thing is that I always felt that there was a chasm, a kind of an area of not fully understanding the civilians, as we say, not understanding the army guys, and the army guys not understanding the civilians. Although in the same family there'll be somebody who's a civilian and somebody who'll be an army guy. Now my wife's family was completely a civilian family. Of course, these categories like civilian and army guys themselves do not, are misnomers, because we're all together. We're all the same family, same people. But I found that there was the way we were trained, let's say from RIMC NDA IMA, we were a different stock altogether, and to a great extent rather intriguingly not fully understood by the rest of the population of the country, who very often said, yeah, we don't understand these army guys, these at times. And the army guys ended up saying, by, if I may use the word, these bloody civilians. So I said, it's important to portray what goes into an army guy, what really makes him an army guy that the nation respects so much. So that was one thing more. In fact, my wife has written one of the chapters on this particular aspect. And I think I can say that one of the things I wanted to achieve, and I think I may have achieved, is this crossover understanding of the common reader about an army mind. What makes us, as my wife has said in the chapter, a band of brothers, which, when they are together, they don't even turn back to look at their families. So these were the things that went into conjuring up and progressively building up the storyline of the book, Mohua. And I hope it is, as I've said in the end of the book, if it is readable and even is meaningful to even one reader, I would have considered it worthwhile having written the book, Mohua.
So, Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, who was awarded the Ashok Chakra, for his feat, he wrote the foreword for you, and it's very, very moving. How did that happen?
So grateful that something I wrote did get picked up. I think I'm very fortunate. So I said we must find somebody to write the foreword, and not normally you find the mayor of Delhi or the somebody who's something or the other write a foreword or whatever. So it struck me that the highest adventurer that the National Defence Academy has produced, literally the highest in space, was Rakesh Sharma. So I said, why not he? Because my book is a tribute to our academy, as I said, to the people who built us. And so I called him up. I'd never met him in my life. And I made a request saying that, sir, it is a book which is, to my mind, it is my payback to our institution also, and to adventure in general. And all these things are encompassed in it. If you find it readable, I don't want any, I'm not requesting you to write the foreword, with a kind of emotional pressure that please do write the foreword. Well, why should you? If you don't find it readable, because I never considered myself a successful author or something like that. But I said, if you find it readable, you find it has got worthwhile content, I will request you, because you are an ex-NDA and you might find a vibe in it that that also links you and me to the respect and the payback we owe to our academy and to adventure in general, because going to space definitely was the highest adventure for any Indian. So I asked Rupa Publication to send him a manuscript, and as you rightly said, Mohua, he has written such a touching foreword that I really couldn't have expected any better. A couple of years later, my wife and me sort of went to meet him in Ooty, and I said, well, I just want to have a cup of tea with you, because, he said, nothing doing, okay, you were having lunch at home. So we spent the afternoon, a couple of hours with him, and he's now both of them, he and Mrs. Sharma, they are precious friends. I'm so grateful to him, Mohua. That's how it all happened.
So, you know what? You are a very, very accomplished man. You've been awarded India's second highest award for gallantry, the Kirti Chakra, and the President's National Adventure Award. So, how do you think these recognitions impact your life and your work?
Mohua, initially, when I got the awards, I was a very young man, about 33 years of age. You don't know how to react to them. In fact, I remember General Sundarji patting me on my shoulder, the chief of army staff then, and saying, AK, you're a hero. That's what he said. My wife was standing next to me. And I still stand by what I told him back. I said, sir, there's a very little difference between a hero and a zero, a matter of H and Z. So I said, I'm very happy where I am, sir. I don't want to feel like a hero. I just want to feel like the ordinary AK Singh who was seeking and pursuing and has been adequately rewarded. Much later now, I can say with conviction that the awards are a recognition by the nation, by the people of an achievement level. If at all, the person awarded must necessarily and does grow a great amount of humility, the great responsibility for being able to stand up to his awards in a manner in which he can um, carry his awards with dignity and with some amount of payback to the nation. So it adds responsibility. These are not meant, the awards are not meant for the awardee. The awards are meant for the nations. They are a kind of a threshold which people must endeavor to cross. If at all an awardee gets beguiled or misguided by his awards, it's a great loss to him. And I feel that it has made me more humble, maybe more responsible, maybe in many ways not indulging in some, so-called normal behavior, which will, might belittle the awards. Mawa?
So the younger generation that are aspiring to serve the Indian Army, there's a huge decline that most people say that unless you've got an army background, very few people from the civilian world, as you rightly said, that they want to go join the army. But if there are some of them, what is
Uh,
it that you would like to tell them?
Mawa, specifically about youth who want to join the armed forces, as you said. So uh, it's also true for all of us at large, actually. But specifically for people who want to join the armed forces, if you do not have a strong sense of nationalism, of respect for your nation, of seeking an opportunity to be able to stand up for your nation, at the same time, if you don't have a strong sense of seeking adventure and living by uh, chances and whatever comes your way and making the most of it, uh, the army life is not for you. The army is divided into arms and services. Arms are the ones who are supposed to be the fighting edge of the army: infantry, artillery, armored corps, fighting arms, uh, engineers, Corps of Engineers, which I belong to, and the Corps of Signals and Telecom Engineers. Engineers, we pride ourselves in saying that we are the first in any battle and the last out of any battle. Even those who are not in the fighting arms and services, fighting arms, but who are in the supporting services, in the army, every man is expected to stand up with a gun when required to fight. If you don't have that bent of mind, if you're looking for a staid, salaried job, the army for a outsider has a lot of connotations. Many people see us, in peacetime, because most of the nation sees us in peacetime in cantonment areas or military stations and in normal ways of the walks of life around town. Many people misconstrue what the army stands for because they don't know what goes into the minds of an army man, at the same time, what goes into the minds of his family that can be called upon at a moment's notice to be beleaguered or to stand by rock solid uh, behind her man. So, as I said, that the youth needs to introspect. It all appears very colorful, the army way of life, but it's a pretty tough life. It's a very, very extremely rewarding life, The army gives you an opportunity to reach for the sky. I always say I sailed around the world because I could, because of the army. I tell people in several, wherever I can, that if you are a computer oriented guy, the army will give you the best computers in the world. If you're a cyclist, the army will give you the best cycles to reach up to the Olympics. The army will back you to the hilt. The question is whether you're going to be up to it psychologically, mentally, and the bent of mind. Are you an army man? So, to the youth, again, I'll say be nationalistic, be proud of your nation, be proud of your army. Don't look for staid life. An army life is an adventurous life.
So we have a very quick rapid fire with you, just one word answers. What's that one thing you can't live without at sea?
Fresh water.
Favorite sailing destination?
We were in Guyana, which produces the best gold in the world. And, we stopped a lot because ours was not a world record-breaking voyage. We started from scratch, nothing. Nobody knew. There was not a single person I'd met who could tell me about sailing around the world. So we started from zilch. So we didn't endeavor to, set world records of solo and speed records and stuff like that. We were quite content by an Indian boat sailing around the world, which hadn't been done before that. It so happened that I was amputated and I became the first physically handicapped man to sail around the world, which was told to me by Nobby Clark, who had flown with Douglas Bader, the double amputee in the Second World War. And Nobby later became the Guinness Book World Recorder for blue water sports that includes ocean sailing. And I got a letter from him when I was reached Australia that, okay, since you've sailing around the world, you may well become the first physically handicapped man to sail around the world. In fact, a lot of such letters came up. So in Guyana, the Indian community, we have Indian community all over the world, you know that, mostly doctors and some businessmen. So they came to see us off at the jetty, and one of the fine Indian ladies, wives of one of the Indians over there, for small talk, she says, there was tea and we were to just sail off. So she says, aren't you taking some gold from Guyana? So I said, for the weight of the gold, I could carry water. I'd carry water. So
one word answers. What's the most important lesson the sea has taught you?
The most important lesson the sea has taught me is humility.
One piece of advice for aspiring sailors.
Advice for budding sailors. You see, if there are yachtsmen in the country who want to take on the oceans, never undermine the oceans. The oceans are great teachers. Work towards being totally self-reliant and self-dependent in the middle of nowhere. As I already said, the boat lives, you live, and good boats outlast good men. So preparation, seamanship. A good sturdy boat. The confidence of an ocean yachtsman in the middle of a storm is irreplaceable. And if you mean people wanting to take up yachting as a sport who had never been into a boat, for them, I'll say yachting as a sport is really mental faculties, intellectual abilities, and physical strength all at their extreme. Hydrodynamics, aerodynamics, and your physical performance all rolled into one. Yachting championships in the world. We have some kids now selected for the next Olympics from India. It is tough, rewarding, very, very intellectually challenging, technical sport. Mohua.
Thank you so much for being on today's episode. It has been an absolute honor in hosting you, Major Rakesh Singh, and we wish you all the best and many more books for us to discuss. And congratulations on this journey. I'm totally humbled, and like I said, it's an honor to have you on the Literature Lounge today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohua. It's been an absolute pleasure and a great honor to be here